This has been a long awaited video. Should have made this video a long time ago, but here we are. Welcome to the Mustard Seed Faith channel. It's no longer a podcast. I'm only going to be on YouTube now. So welcome back to the channel. I hope you guys have been well, and I owe you all an apology and an explanation for why I've just been gone, why I have left the channel. I should just start from the beginning. So let's go back to when I actually stopped recording videos. That last video I made that video right after I had watched a documentary on Christianity, and it featured a lot of the pastors that I was watching, and that freaked me out because they were basically talking about certain pastors in a negative way. And it freaks me out because those were pastors that I had mentioned on the channel, and also pastors that I had grown up listening to and hearing and seeing on the TV. So it kind of shook me, because I wanted to make sure that I was listening to the right people. I was hearing from people who actually, heard from God, and I wanted to share that with you as well. So I kind of caved under the pressure, because that also meant I had to go back and study for myself, which I will admit I have not been good at over this past year. Oh, I also want to make sure that this is not me making excuses, because honestly, the excuses I've been making for why I haven't been doing these videos were not valid. It shouldn't have been a reason for me to stop. So all of that had me worried for how I was going to go forward with the channel, because I did not want to lead anybody astray. And I started to feel the pressure of my influence as more and more people started watching the videos, and more people started talking to me about it and commenting to me about it. It was just pressure. And recently a pastor that the pastor of the church I currently go to, he was basically talking about how in life we can, instead of trying to increase our capacity for things, we try to reduce the pressure. And that is exactly what I did last year. I just removed myself so I didn't have to feel the pressure of this channel, of being a Christian, a young Christian out there in front of the world. And that is exactly the opposite of what I'm trying to portray in this channel. That is exactly the opposite of the purpose of this channel, is because it's no pressure. I'm just here living my life out loud as a Christian, and that comes with ups and downs. That comes with me not being perfect. That comes with times where I don't know how to pray. I don't feel like reading my word. I don't know what to even say to God. Times where I'm feeling I'm not as close to God, and all of that is a part of being a Christian. So going back to what was going on with me last year, I also was planning to move to a new city because I got into medical school, which was very exciting and something that I've been hoping to do for a long time, and it was finally happening for me. Got into med school, had to move to a different city, moved to this different city, and this was at the time when we were coming out of lockdown in England. So now we get to this new city. I'm excited. I want to start uni, and the lockdown happens. Now medical school basically goes online. A lot of our classes end up being online, and I'd say that would probably be the point where I started to let disappointment in God take root in my heart. That's like the first time I felt slight disappointment that God would allow me to start this new chapter in my life, and it be in lockdown, where I wasn't able to meet a lot of new people. I'm still single, and that was something I was looking forward to, be able to meet new people and stuff like that, and then it doesn't happen because we're in a lockdown. So trying to figure out life in medical school and all that had me preoccupied, and also trying to find a new church, meeting new people online, because we were all forced to do certain things online because of COVID and the lockdown. That kind of took a lot of energy out of me, because I tend to retreat from socially awkward situations or situations where I don't feel as comfortable. So meeting new people over Zoom was another thing that was like, oh, this is another thing that adds to the difficulty of me being able to meet friends and meet people. So there's that. Throughout all of this, it had also been a year since I was able to go home. Home as in the Turks and Caicos, back where my family lives. So typically I go home once a year, but because of COVID, I was not able to go home over the summer. So I spent my first summer in England, and I was really hoping to be able to go home. So fortunately, I got the chance to go home for Christmas. While home for Christmas and New Year's, the announcement came through that UK was going back in lockdown. So that was another big disappointment, which also meant that medical school was going to be online. So I did medical school online in a different time zone in Turks and Caicos for about 2 months, which was difficult, but it was doable because I was also excited to just be home because my mother was running in the general elections at the time, and I was excited to be able to vote for her and vote in the elections and also take part in the campaign that was going on. So this is the point where I'd say the majority of my disappointment in God comes in. So I'm home and I'm helping my mom out with her campaign stuff, and I'm seeing her doing all this hard work. I'm feeling like, you know, how all of it lined up and how she was able to even be a candidate. I felt like all of it had to be God, and how certain things went down. I was so convinced that, you know, God was in the midst of all of it, and that, you know, this was something that he had instructed her to do, and it was something that he was going to come through for her. Also, so throughout all of this, like I mentioned, my mom was doing all this work. She was talking to people. It looked as if it was going good for her, but behind the scenes, a lot of other stuff was going on. And throughout the campaign, like, some nasty things happened. Rumors were going on. You know, it really showed me a lot about people and also the people where I come from. And when the election results came through and it was just a devastating loss, it kind of like, it turned me off from people. I felt disappointment in God. I was confused. I was angry. I was just in disbelief that, you know, it was like everything was looking so good, then all of a sudden it was the complete opposite of what I thought was actually happening. So maybe part of that was just me being naive, and part of me, you know, just having to be exposed to how people can actually be, especially in times of election. So that rocked me, and I say that's when the major downhill spiral happened. That's when it just became hard to communicate with God. It became hard to engage in the word. It became hard to even watch the sermons I used to, read the books I used to. I just kind of, you know, decided I'm gonna focus on uni right now. I'm just gonna do my work. I'm going back to England. I, like, immediately after the election results came out, I was so ready to leave. I was so ready to come back to England, even though England was still in a lockdown. So I'd say that was the thing that meant I had to deal with my disappointment. I had to come to terms and realize that, you know, even though it didn't happen, God is still good. God is still in control, and, you know, he still has a plan and a purpose for my life and for my family's life. The major thing that led to that disappointment, though, is because I was so convinced I had heard from God, and when, you know, it was an opposite result to what I thought I had heard, that made me question, do I even know what he sounds like? This whole time, have I been thinking these things for myself? Have I been making up stuff and saying it was God? It questioned everything I thought I had heard from God, and it made me think, no, Sanana, you didn't hear from God. All of that was basically from yourself. And I felt like, so how am I supposed to know what's from God and what's not? So that basically made me stop thinking I was hearing anything. It made me stop even wanting to give God a chance to say anything to me, because in my head I was like, I can't even tell if this is from you or this is my own thoughts. This is my own greed. This is my own ambition. This is my own desires. I couldn't tell the difference between what was the desires that God was giving me, the instructions that God was giving me, versus what I had plans for myself. So throughout all of that, there was a lot of conviction in terms of, you know, I knew I was supposed to be making videos again. I just didn't know what to say. I didn't feel like saying anything. I didn't want that pressure on me again. I wasn't being a perfect Christian. I didn't want to come across as a hypocrite. So I just shut down from all of it. And now I'm finally, you know, at the place where I think I know it's time for me to get back to recording. I felt more like disappointment has gone away. I felt like I've dealt with that more, and I'm in a place where I'm ready to, you know, get back into being disciplined, get back into the things of God, and, you know, just building that relationship with him again after it took a bit of a spiral. And what I learned throughout all of this is that, and what I also want to share with you guys, is that sometimes as Christians we go through periods where it's just difficult to want to do the things of God. It's difficult to, you know, feel close to him at times. But throughout all of that, I still knew that I believed that God lived and he died for me. I still believed that I was saved. I still believed that, you know, he had a plan. I just couldn't figure out how I'm supposed to trust him throughout that. And that's just a part of the process. That's just a part of my journey. And I don't know what your journey will include, but this has basically been like 2 years of me taking this stuff seriously, and I hit a rough patch, and that happens. But it's how you recover from it. It's how you pick back up from it. With all that being said, I guess the point I'm trying to make is I let the disappointment of what happened to me, or what happened in my life, the circumstances surrounding my life, I let that get in the way of my calling. And that is exactly what you're not supposed to do. I basically failed the biggest test of my Christianity since, you know, taking this seriously. And, you know, I would have been, I don't want to say I have any regrets, because, you know, it's a life lesson. I still have, hopefully by God's grace, I still have years ahead of me where I can, you know, do better. But he showed me some things this year about myself. He showed me how easy it can be for me to, you know, turn my back on him sometimes when things don't go my way. And that's something that going forward I will know to recognize in myself. And so, you know, instead of retreating and pulling back from him, it's in those times where I'm supposed to draw nearer to him and get closer to him. So let this be a warning and an encouragement to you that, you know, don't retreat from God in times where you feel disappointed, or things don't go your way, or you're not understanding what is going on. The Bible says in James 4 verses 7 to 10, "Therefore submit to God, resist the devil, and he will flee from you. Draw near to God, and he will draw near to you. Cleanse your hands, you sinners, and purify your hearts, you double-minded. Lament and mourn and weep. Let your laughter be turned to mourning and your joy to gloom. Humble yourselves in the sight of the Lord, and he will lift you up." So I did the opposite of what the word was instructing me to do in my time of, you know, disappointment. I was supposed to draw nearer. So let that be a warning, encouragement, and instruction to you. If you're going through anything, draw nearer to God, not away from him. Hopefully, the plan is to make more of these videos and, you know, post them more regularly now that, you know, I've recognized my faults and I'm trying to do better. So stay tuned, watch this space. Yeah, thanks for watching the video. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and share this with those who you think need to hear it, and those who you think it will benefit if they heard it. Have a lovely day, have a lovely week, have a lovely life. Be blessed.